Welcome back to the deep dive, where we cut through the noise to understand the truly disruptive forces shaping tomorrow. If you've felt like the pace of AI mergers and acquisitions, that massive flurry of activity between, say, 2023 and 2025 has been overwhelming, you are definitely not alone.
Oh, it wasn't just a blur. It was a deluge that fundamentally reshaped the entire competitive map. We're talking about M&A activity hitting, historic highs in 2025.
And the numbers were just incredible.
Easily reaching well over $150 billion in AI-related deals alone. The financial scale was just staggering.
Exactly. Okay, so let's unpack this. Because while the dollar amount is huge, what's far more important is what that money was actually buying.
Yeah.
If you just followed the headlines, you might think big tech Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon was just buying bigger and better foundational models.
Right, just trying to build the largest LLM brain possible. And that narrative completely misses the strategic pivot. The sources we looked at are really clear on this.
What's the pivot?
By early 2024, generalized foundation models were, well, they were rapidly becoming a commodity.
A commodity that quickly.
Oh, yeah. The true competitive edge had vanished from building a slightly better general model. So the market transitioned aggressively, almost instantly. It shifted toward acquiring two completely different and much more valuable assets: specialized execution layers and, crucially, infrastructure control.
So generalized intelligence just became table stakes. The race to build the biggest brain was over almost before it began.
As a profit center, yes, it was
Yes.
over. Look, if open source models like Llama could achieve, say, 80% of what the closed models could do, but for free, big tech realized they had to control that other 20%. The specialization, the deployment, the reliability, and the economics of running it all at scale.
That's a fascinating inversion of strategy. So the intelligence is now cheap, but the real battle is for controlling the plumbing and the execution layer.
Precisely. These acquisitions weren't random shopping trips. Not at all. They were meticulously calculated moves designed to build these vertically integrated AI stacks, linking everything from the core silicon to the enterprise data, the agentic software, and ultimately, the user interface.
So our mission today is to show you exactly how these pieces fit together. We're moving beyond just comparing models and looking at the talent wars and infrastructure moats that really define that whole period, 2023 through 2025. And here's where it gets really, really interesting. The initial buzz was all about large language models and, simple chat interfaces. But the moment these giants started spending serious money, the focus immediately shifted to something far more valuable: agentic AI.
Agentic AI. And that just means autonomous systems. So an AI that doesn't just respond to a prompt, but can actually break down a complex task, execute the steps, use existing software, and perform deep research without constant human guidance.
So it does things for you, doesn't just talk to you.
Exactly. That ability to execute autonomously is where the true exponential value lies. And the race for that dominance drove a completely new M&A playbook.
Which is where we saw the rise of these creative acqui-hire structures, often involving these early-stage strategic exits where a startup would just bypass traditional venture funding entirely and opt for immediate lucrative integration into a major ecosystem.
Yeah, look at Meta's acquisition of Manus. That was late 2025. The strategic valuation was north of $2 billion.
$2 billion. So why the urgency?
Manus was a general AI agent framework. The deal was purely about securing highly specialized talent. People who knew how to design, train, and deploy these autonomous systems at massive scale. Meta was basically just buying speed and integration capacity.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second. These companies have billions of dollars, huge internal R&D teams. Why was buying talent like Manus so necessary? Doesn't that sort of suggest a failure in their own R&D to pivot fast enough?
It suggests two things. First, as I said, speed. Building a whole new paradigm just takes time. And second, it's about specific expertise. Meta secured talent focused on generalized, human-like instruction following. But Amazon responded almost immediately, which signaled a direct workplace automation race. Their priority was clearly different.
And that was the Amazon acqui-hire of Adept AI, June 2024, estimated at, over $400 million.
Right. That Adept deal secured the CEO and the core research staff for Amazon's huge AGI and automation push. But the real jewel in that deal was Adept's Action Transformer technology. And this is the technical distinction we really need to understand.
Wait, okay, so this isn't just about chatting better. Explain what the Action Transformer actually does, because that sounds like the core difference here.
Think of it this way. Manus gave Meta the best brain to understand complex instructions. Adept gave Amazon the best hands to execute them. The Action Transformer allows the AI agent to literally interact with software. It can log into a CRM, click buttons in an enterprise workflow, pull data from a spreadsheet, send an email, all without a human needing to act as the middleman. It turns the agent into a coworker, not just a chatbot.
Okay, so Meta got the philosophical agent, and Amazon got the practical enterprise integrator. That really clarifies the battle lines for agentic AI by 2025.
Absolutely. And what's so fascinating is how some of these giants managed to absorb this critical talent and IP while completely sidestepping the massive regulatory hurdles that typically slow down big tech acquisitions by, 12 to 18 months.
Right, which brings us to the ultimate example of this maneuvering, the Microsoft and Inflection AI deal in March of 2024. This was that famous pseudo-acquisition. It felt completely new at the time. Walk us through the mechanics of that.
So Microsoft paid $650 million. But crucially, they weren't buying the company outright. They paid for a non-exclusive IP licensing agreement. And at the exact same time, Microsoft onboarded Inflection's core leadership and engineering talent, including CEO Mustafa Suleyman and Karen Simonian.
So they get the brain trust, the core knowledge, the immediate ability to integrate Inflection's work into Copilot and their Azure AI stack.
Hmm.
But they avoided the formal, slow antitrust review that comes with buying the whole company.
That is the critical strategic insight. This structure let Microsoft consolidate absolutely essential AI capabilities and elite talent, the real value, while completely avoiding the lengthy antitrust scrutiny. That $650 million wasn't just for IP, it was regulatory arbitrage. It was the calculated cost of accelerating their product roadmap by a year, maybe more.
So the value is clearly identified as the people and the knowledge, not the shell corporation or its remaining assets.
Exactly.
It sounds like Microsoft got a free pass on regulatory delay just by focusing purely on talent. But even with all that brain power, where do you put the brains to work? They still need a massive, highly optimized body to support them.
Right. That's the perfect transition. If autonomous agents are the brains, then data and infrastructure are the body. They're the essential plumbing that ensures reliability and scale, especially in high-stakes enterprise deployments. The second major goal of this whole period was securing that infrastructure moat.
Let's start with the data. We've established agents are useless if they're operating on messy, outdated, or just ungoverned information.
Right. And we saw moves like Salesforce's $8.0 billion acquisition in April 2024. Their strategic intent was simple: securing the data management layer. Salesforce even coined the term Agent Force. The source material makes it clear. Clean, governed data is the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for having autonomous enterprise agents that aren't just making things up or causing compliance nightmares.
It's the data moat that makes the agent trustworthy.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about cleaning up static historical data. Live, time-sensitive decisions need real-time data feeds.
Which must be what drove IBM's move.
Yes, their $11.1 billion move in late 2025. It was focused heavily on real-time data streaming technologies. Think about technologies that continuously monitor customer flows, or manufacturing sensor data, or financial markets. Agents making high-stakes decisions in finance or logistics can't wait for a nightly batch update.
Of course not.
So this move positioned IBM as a leader in providing the guaranteed hybrid cloud data pipelines needed for real-time AI.
Now let's talk about the biggest dollar figure in this whole infrastructure category.
Yeah.
The one that really underlines the idea that security is the new prerequisite for adoption. Google and Wiz.
The Google and Wiz deal. March 2025, it clocked in at $32 billion.
$32 billion.
Google's largest acquisition ever. That price tag tells you everything about how critical the insight was. Security and multi-cloud visibility are the new prerequisites for enterprise AI at scale, period. Without guaranteed security, no major financial or healthcare institution will run its mission-critical AI models.
But $32 billion, I mean, it's just a staggering number. Why did Google, a cloud giant with its own security offerings, need a specialist like Wiz so badly?
Because the enterprise world is inherently multi-cloud. It just is. Most Fortune 500 companies have data spread across AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. Wiz provided that essential multi-cloud observability. This means Google could tell a potential customer, hey, even if 80% of your sensitive data lives on AWS and Azure, we can manage it, secure it, and run your AI models right here on Google Cloud with full visibility and compliance across everything.
It just removed the biggest customer objection to going all in on AI.
Completely.
So that addresses the software, the data, the security layer. But beneath all of that, there's a physical reality, the compute and the power needed to run these models 24/7.
Yes, and we saw key players move aggressively to control that physical substrate, making the verticalization complete. Look at the CoreWeave and Core Scientific acquisition in July 2025 for $9.0 billion. This was widely dubbed the power play.
This wasn't about software or models at all, was it? This was about megawatt capacity and real estate.
It was about direct ownership and unit economics. CoreWeave acquired 1.3 gigawatts of power capacity and eliminated huge lease obligations. By gaining direct control over the physical substrate, the power, the cooling, the land, they could dramatically optimize the unit economics of running GPUs. This move not only secures their own capacity, but it actively limits the supply available to rivals. It creates an economic moat that software alone just cannot replicate.
And that idea of vertical integration is mirrored in the hardware components too, right? Like the AMD and ZT Systems deal in 2024.
Absolutely. The $4.9 billion AMD acquisition of ZT Systems signaled a fundamental shift. AMD went from being a vendor that just sells individual processors to a partner that delivers integrated rack-scale AI solutions. They secured the engineering talent to bundle their silicon, their networking, their architecture into these purpose-built, optimized AI stacks. It just made their solution easier, faster, and cheaper to deploy for enterprise clients.
So we have the specialized autonomous agents, the brains, we have the vertically integrated data, security, and power infrastructure, the body. What's the final piece of the puzzle that these giants are maneuvering to control? I mean, where will we use these powerful agents?
We're moving beyond the 2D screen. The core insight that was emerging so strongly in 2025 is that the next phase of AI evolution will happen in specialized AI-native hardware ecosystems, ones that completely break the mold of traditional computing.
And the most headline-grabbing, I guess, glamorous manifestation of this was the OpenAI and Jony Ive partnership.
Correct. The $6.4 billion acquisition of Ive's design startup in September 2025 that signaled a massive, intentional push into high-end, AI-native consumer devices. The goal is pretty simple: create the definitive hardware platform for the sophisticated autonomous agents they are building.
I mean, Jony Ive, the guy who designed the iPhone. The sources suggest this isn't just some basic plastic speaker. This is supposed to be the most seamless, aesthetically pure AI companion ever created. They're betting the user experience and the design are what prevent the agent from just being another app on someone else's phone.
Exactly. They realize that for this agentic future to really take hold, you have to control both the user experience and the underlying vertical stack. By controlling the software, the GBT layer, and the specialized hardware design, they gain a massive advantage. It's really echoing Apple's early success, controlling the entire experience from the silicon up to the user's hand. But this time, the driving force is the autonomous agent.
So when we synthesize this massive strategic shift, what does this all mean? We've seen three clear, highly funded categories of consolidation: acquiring agentic AI talent, securing the data and infrastructure moats, and establishing a foothold in AI-native hardware.
And the overarching lesson is that the strategic value truly migrated. The big money moved away from generalized foundation models, the biggest brain, to the specialized high-leverage assets: autonomous agents, and the vertically integrated infrastructure you need to run them reliably at enterprise scale. Success now hinges entirely on the seamless integration of that elite talent, proprietary data, and massive optimized compute power.
So if we look ahead, based on the patterns laid down by this whole consolidation period, what should we expect next?
The sources suggest three clear directions. First, the conflict will intensify into agent wars, not model wars. The next acquisitions won't be about who has the largest LLM, but who has the most deeply integrated, specialized agent that can solve a specific high-value industry problem.
Okay, and second, the trend of regulatory innovation isn't slowing down. We should expect to see more of these creative acqui-hires, licensing agreements, talent transfers, all specifically designed to bypass antitrust scrutiny, following that path Microsoft laid out with Inflection.
Because speed remains the primary competitive advantage. And finally, the M&A focus will pivot away from generalized consumer tech. It's going to move towards specialized vertical AI startups. So look for major moves in highly regulated complex sectors like healthcare, legal systems, and advanced manufacturing. That's where the data is proprietary and the barrier to entry is high. And that is where specialized agents deliver the maximum differentiated value.
So this period of acquisition, 2023 to 2025, it was clearly not just a spending spree for bragging rights or for some ephemeral headlines.
Not at all. It was the defining era that built the foundation for everything that's going to follow.
Which leaves you, the listener, with this final provocative thought to chew on. The companies that successfully executed this massive vertical integration, securing the agents, the data, and the hardware platforms, they are not just competing to sell software. They are actively determining which closed, dominant ecosystems and which infrastructure will truly power and control the coming AI-native global economy, and who, therefore, gets to set the rules for everyone else. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.